My family has lived in America for 24 years. My family is from New Delhi, India. It's the capital of the country and it's an urban city. Since my family is from New Delhi, we'll visit New Delhi, but in addition we'll sometimes go to Punjab. It's a northern state, home to the Sikhs. So that we go there for social reasons. I mean, being with other Sikhs like us. And also, it's also the place of the Golden Temple, which is a landmark not just for Sikhs, but for Hindus and Muslims, Jains alike. My father was the first one to come over to the United States, and he came here for higher education. I visit India every summer. I fit in more in America than I do in India. I think Indians raised in India always want to emulate Western culture. It's always their goal maybe to listen to the newest music or see the newest movies from the West, and I feel a lot of Indian Americans are trying to play the instruments of traditional India, or see what's the new movies coming in India, or be Indian. There's definitely a lot of pressure to become somehow related in the medical field, coming from an Asian background, because I don't know if I can explain to you, but in India, a doctor, they use the word Dev for a doctor. That in the translation in English is God. They'll call doctors God, because God's the one who gives us life in the beginning, and for sick, ailing people at the end of their life, a doctor is even a type of God who can give them life again. And I don't know if that kind of reverence is even imaginable in Western society, but I think even from a young age, there's such a respect for doctors. I'm not sure if you're familiar, but the Sikhs came about during the 15th century, and that was probably one of the heights of the caste system, maybe putting down people of the lower caste. So Sikhism's main belief, even beyond religion and spirituality, is no caste system. That's a huge part of Sikhism. Well, Sikhism was created in the 15th century, and that was also a major, maybe a height of Hindu-Muslim conflict. It was during the time the Mughal Empire was conquering India, and there were obviously massive Hindu genocide, and it's really a weird relationship where Hindus were being treated as second citizens in their own country. And I think we're really lucky that Sikhism was born in such a time that we could see that relationship and maybe try to overcome it. Like I said before, a major goal of Sikhism is to end the caste system, but I think paired with that is maybe to end Hindu-Muslim conflict. So our gurus or founders or teachers try to create a religion that bridged concepts of both religions and try to stress neutrality or maybe tolerance for the differences. So Sikhs have this thing called the Shri Guru Granth Sahib, which is it's an equivalent of a holy text or a Bible. But what's unique about it is that this text includes the works of both Hindus and Muslims and Sikhs, and it's obviously the only text that has combined other religions into its own text, and I think that was huge for the Hindu-Muslim conflict at the time. This idea that even people who differed on the basic belief of monotheism and polytheism, and to be able to bridge that was incredible. And I think that mentality of not just tolerance but like mutual love, I think that's carried on in whatever form into the present. I mean, now the Prime Minister is Prime Minister Manmohan Singh. And one of his main goals is trying to bridge that gap between the Hindus and Muslims. Because after all, people often think that Islam is most prevalent in the Middle East or in Pakistan, but actually the greatest number of Muslims are in India. So I think Sikhs have often acted as a kind of a bridge, a way to fill in the gap between monotheism and polytheism, or just social differences. And obviously, my parents have raised me thinking that there is no Hindu, there's no Muslim, it's just India. And I think slowly, we will be able to overcome the Hindu-Muslim conflict.
Well, I agree that there is a lot of animosity between India and Pakistan, probably because of the conflict there. But it obviously does not affect my parents very much because they married each other. And I think that's because they see through the conflict there and the kind of the religious side between it, because Indians and Pakistanis are pretty much the same people. They come from the same place. They have the same traditions, except Islam and Hinduism are a little bit different. But in the end, they're pretty much the same country. They're just separated by these differences. And my parents both left those places and met in America, so that it didn't affect them at all. Well, their differences to America are vast. For example, there aren't tall skyscrapers. There isn't a lot of cultivated land, and it's just there's a lot of places where, for example, in Times Square in New York, I can actually relate that to a lot of places in India because there are just millions of people running around in not a very large area. So if you just imagine that kind of times 20 for Calcutta, for example, that's pretty much what it looks like, except that the streets aren't a grid, and it's much less disorganized. It's much less organized. There are animals everywhere, homeless people, and stray dogs. I would never want to switch my ethnicity to be part of a different ethnic group because I feel that while I'm different, I don't really act that differently, which kind of sets me apart from people. And I like how the two backgrounds I'm from are so averse to each other, and it kind of makes me more of an interesting person to myself.